What is up, my beautiful people? Hope you're having a terrific day. Exile451 here with yet another daily dose of Reddit Happy. It's Tuesday, so you know what that means. We're going back into AskReddit for some funny stories that I'm sure are going to make you laugh, especially those of you parents out there. I think you'll relate to these quite well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Okay, so the AskReddit question was, parents of Reddit, what's the funniest lie your child has told you? My kid was having trouble making it to the bathroom before he pooped his pants. I was always telling him, if you need to go potty, just put down what you're doing and go. Whatever it is can wait. I guess he took that to mean he was in trouble, despite the fact I stressed time and again that I wasn't upset. So one day he comes streaking into the living room, naked from the waist down, and starts excitedly telling me this long and involved story about how he was in the bathroom minding his own business, when suddenly the dog kicked in the door, ripped his pants off, attacked him, and pooped in his pants that were laying on the floor. The dog in question is a 16-year-old blind and deaf Chihuahua, by the way. Wish I could remember the whole story he told me. It was hysterical. My godson, around 3 or 4 at the time, came to the porch from the back of the house, his trousers dripping wet. He honestly claimed that while he was playing in the garden, someone came and peed in his pants. When my son was 3, he was going through the stage of peeing on the toy shelf upstairs. He tried blaming it on his brother, then his dad, then me, and finally decided it was actually the dog. The dog who has never been upstairs in its life. He thought for sure I'd buy his story. What? No, you're the one who peed on this shelf. I saw you. I wrote on the wall when I was very little. My dad asked me if I did it, and I responded, no, Todd did it. There is no Todd. He says, oh, walks out of the room, comes back 5 minutes later and tells me, I just got off the phone with Todd's mom. Todd said you did it. Checkmate. Now that is winning at parenting. One time, I really wanted to color on the wall, so I created a small masterpiece in the hallway and ingeniously signed it with my brother's name. I would have gotten away with it had my brother not been 17 years old, and I, 7. Well, there are 17-year-olds that still draw on the wall, but the trade-off is they get arrested for vandalism, so I once broke a vase and told my mom that my little sister did it. I'm an only child. She would know that. We took my 4-year-old son to Legoland in California. We were waiting in line for a mechanical pony ride that he was very excited for and could do by himself. The attendant was asking every child their age before they got on the ride. We hadn't thought to talk to him about why. When he got to the front of the line, the attendant asked him his age. He hesitated and looked at us. We reassured him. Then, as cool and confident as he could be, he said, 18? Everyone within earshot was rolling. Apparently, he was worried that he wasn't old enough. Son walks into bedroom at 5 a.m. Son, my pants are wet. Me, did you pee the bed? Son, no. Me, then how are they wet? Son, water? Me, what water? Son, from my body. Me, so you peed your bed. Son, no. Me, then what water? Son, the water from my wee-wee. Me, so you peed your bed. Son, no, I peed my pants. Me, where were you? Son, in bed, asleep. Me to wife. Am I going crazy? And that, folks, is parenting. My daughter was 3 and farted loudly. Then said, that was a woodpecker. Yes, because I'm sure a woodpecker farts that loud. If it were a woodpecker, it would just be one chain of farts, one after another, just Yesterday, my nearly 4-year-old used the garden hose to soak the dog. When confronted, he insisted the dog was wet because it had rained. I'd noticed he'd peed his pants too and mentioned it. He denied that and said his pants got wet while he was spraying the dog. No, kid, the correct answer is, I plead the fifth. Gotta teach them the Bill of Rights when they're young. Have you been eating crayons? No, with blue teeth. When I was a teen and babysitting the siblings, my baby brother, then a toddler who's now a Marine, disappeared while we were watching TV. I got up to get a drink from the kitchen and I found him sitting on a stool, pushed up to the sink so he could see the screen over the counter, with a Tupperware tub of sugar in front of him. The lid on the counter, his little arm in the tub up to the elbow, fist clamped around another handful, and sugar all over his face, shirt, shorts, the counter, sink, and floor. I shouted his name. What are you doing? Nothing. You're eating sugar out of the container. No, I'm not. I'm telling. I asked my 8-year-old son to tidy his bedroom. He spent an entire day in there and then told me it's done. I go to his room and it looks tidy. He looks a bit edgy though. I then hear the cat meowing. It sounds muffled, which is a bit suspicious. I eventually lift up his mattress and discover the poor cat trapped under the bed. Poor bugger had gone to sleep in a box and been shoved further and further under the bed while my son was hiding all the crap from his floor under the bed. Total accident. He didn't know she was in the box. When I asked him what he had been doing for the 11 hours I'd thought he was tidying, he told me he'd been watching Harry Potter on repeat. That was funny enough as it was, but the next day I sent him back to his room to actually tidy properly. I said, and don't you dare watch any Harry Potter. Tidy your dang room. Shortly after this, I hear the TV. Go upstairs and ask him what on earth he thinks he's doing. What? You said I couldn't watch Harry Potter. You didn't say anything about watching Friends. I'm a preschool teacher. One of our 3-year-olds who is very smart told me, today's my last day as a kid. I start college on Saturday, and let out a huge sigh. Well, she's in for a big disappointment. Kids are always in that rush to grow up, and then they get there and they're like, oh, man, I had it so good as a kid. This was a lie I told as a child. When I was in preschool, I told everyone I had pet goats. We had no pets, not even a goldfish, so I have no idea why I conjured up a goat in my little brain. We also lived in New Jersey by the shore, so it's not even like it was common for anyone to have farm animals. Anyway, I kept this lie up really well for a kid. If I had a scratch, I'd say my goats did it. I'd come in every morning and wash my hands because I was playing with the goats before I came in. They had names too, but I don't remember them. Unfortunately, my goat fantasy all came crashing down when my teacher asked my mom to bring in our goats for show and tell, as we were learning about farm animals. My mom thought she had the wrong parent, but my teacher persisted. They called me over to explain, and I was caught. I was extremely nonchalant about it. My teacher thought I was extremely odd for it, but my mom found it hilarious and still jokes about it. Edit. I am now aware that some people did have goats around the area I grew up in. Today I learned. That's nice and all, but A, the real fact of the matter is, I didn't. Like, not even a little. If there was such a thing as an opposite of a goat owner, that'd be me. And B, you could have helped me keep up my story, and you didn't. I see how it is, folks. Hubs and I lived with my mother-in-law for a while after financial crisis. Our oldest daughter was 3 and always trying to pull one over on someone. We went into the bedroom to discuss something we didn't want to talk about in front of the kid and had been in there for about 10 minutes when we heard her knocking on the door asking to come in. I explained that we were having a grown-up conversation and that I'd be with her in a few minutes. Not to be dissuaded, she waited 20 to 30 seconds and knocked again. "Who is it?" I asked. "It's Gigi," comes an unnaturally deep voice on the other side of the door. Gigi being grandma. Had to give her props for trying. My mother told me a story of my grandfather when he'd been sent to his room once. from the living room, his parents heard what was probably intended to be a deep, authoritative voice. "Let little," Granddad's name, "back out, please." Then he looked out of his room and said, "Didn't you hear what God said?" Okay, that one was good. That takes a lot of confidence. My 4-year-old had been jumping in mud puddles near our house, which he was specifically not supposed to do. When he came up to me covered in splashes of fresh mud, and I asked him what happened, he looked me right in the eye and said, "I have no idea." I recall having a similar encounter with my mom, except I was covered head to toe in mud and said, "I got into a fight with a mud puddle and lost." She lost it laughing. Lone parent to 2 girls. Every time I go for a bath, I hear them creep down to help themselves to snacks. I let them have one snack between meals because my eldest especially can be a bit greedy. So each and every time I get into the hot bath, I hear them trying to creep down the stairs. When I hear them sneaking back up, I always say, "I can hear you. It's nearly supper time. You don't need any more snacks." And the lies they come up with make me laugh. "It wasn't the sound of a crisp bag, it was a shopping bag so we can clean up." You're imagining things. We think there's a ghost that keeps leaving empty wrappers under the bed. Have you never heard of mice? Alright, who got into mommy's makeup? Amber did it! Amber's mouth looked like a mouth. My other child had colored/smeared the bottom third of her face with fuchsia lipstick. It was still on their hands, too. At the time, my daughters were 4 and 2. My wife is at work. My 2-year-old comes downstairs crying, and it looks like blue paint all over her hands. I go to her and then realize it's toothpaste. I go to our room and find the 4-year-old at her bed with a tube of toothpaste completely emptied, and she's rubbing it into our comforter. I start a bath, get both of them in the tub. The 4-year-old looks at me, hands covered in toothpaste, and says, "It wasn't me, Dad. Only sister did it." Same year, from my 2-year-old, "The baby," our son, "pulled my hair." Sure he did. At the time, my wife was 8 months pregnant. This is a repost of my #1 comment of all time. I'm the kid. I was 5. My mother made a tray of brownies for dessert, but only let me have like a square inch of brownie. And I wanted more. So once everyone was asleep, I went into the kitchen and ate the crap out of those brownies and went back to bed. I get up in the morning and my mother's already in the kitchen making breakfast. She wants to know who ate the brownies. And I, being the master criminal that I am, explain that the brownie robber did. All the brownie robber does is break into people's houses and eat brownies. My mother kept asking me for more and more details, which I helpfully provided. This went on for like half an hour. Then she gets her Kodak Instamatic camera and takes a picture of me. Lo and behold, I have chocolate smeared all over my face as I'm standing there earnestly trying to get her to believe the story of the brownie robber. I'm 51. Family members still tell this freaking story. That is not something you're ever going to live down. I was the kid, probably 5 or 6. My mom told me not to torment the cat I got for my birthday. Yet, I tried to feed him a mud pie repeatedly until he put a long, deep, bloody scratch all down my leg. I knew how to deal with boo-boos, but this one was a monster. It hurt enough to put my leg in the bathtub, wash it with soap and water, and pour Bactine on it without worrying that my mom would come in and see. Which, of course, she did. "OP," she said. "Didn't I tell you not to bother the cat? How did that happen?" I blurted out the first thing I thought of, which was, "I didn't. This is a mosquito bite." I'll never forget the first time I ever thought, gosh, that was a dumb thing to say. After my kid looted the candy jar, "Where you get that candy from, son?" I found it in my mouth." My nephew was cutting his sister's hair. Mom walks in, and while the scissors were still in his hand, he immediately says, "Abby did it." I remembered another. My sister told this one. In her preschool, a nurse came in to test everyone's hearing. The nurse tried to make it fun by saying, "Let's play a game. When you hear the beep, raise your hand." My sister failed the test miserably. My mom got the results and was totally distraught because her sister, our aunt, was born deaf and she struggled a lot throughout childhood, in school, making friends, etc. The following weeks until my sister could get an appointment with this really great hearing specialist were very upsetting according to my mom. She read every book she could, asked my aunt hundreds of questions, all of it. The morning of my sister's appointment with the hearing specialist, my sister and my dad, who was quite the jokester, so my sister may have assumed he'd love this, were talking about hearing tests and what to expect that day. Then she said very proudly, "Daddy, the hearing nurse said let's play a game, so I played my own game." My sister took the silly little game aspect way too seriously. Clearly confused, he asked her to elaborate. Apparently, her game was to do the opposite of what she was told. My dad explained how that's a big problem, and now we don't know if there's really any hearing problems. She cried because she thought she was in trouble and did something wrong. The poor kid was so nervous during the next hearing test, she raised her hand indicating she could hear the beep before the machine was on. Luckily, they had an alternative test where the specialist whispered across the room about ice cream, and she certainly heard that. Needless to say, she has perfect hearing. That was r/AskReddit, and if you want more serious or funny Ask Reddit content, then feel free to check out the playlist link in the description below. Now you guys go out there, have a great day, I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, I'm Exile451. Stay beautiful, people.